It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our colors. We are heroes and dreamers. We are restless believers.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are on this 4th of July weekend. Really, we got 4th of July coming up in a couple of days now. And anyway, and I am delighted to have Alfred Lambremont Webre on today, and we're going to talk about the future of the breakup of the United States. So, but let me tell you a little bit about Alfred, so you know he's very qualified to talk about this. He considers himself a future, and his principal social contributions have been founding the science of exopolitics through his 2000 book, Exopolitics. Also, the 2014 discovery of the omniverse as the third major cosmological body after the universe and multiverse, through which humanity understands the cosmos, encapsulated in his book, The Omniverse. Number 3, the development of positive future equation and the ascension hypothesis that describes soul to our universe and omniverse. He's a graduate of Georgetown Preparatory School in Classics in 1960, Yale University 1964, Yale Law School 1967, University of Texas 1997. Oh my goodness, Fulbright Scholar 1968. Alfred has taught at 2 universities, Yale University, Texas of Government Department, Constitutional Law. I like that part very much right there. But anyway, obviously he has an extensive background in legalities, law, common law, you name it. He's got the background. So let me bring him on without further ado. Welcome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I'm very honored and very happy to be here to share this news on the 4th of July weekend. What a date and what an occasion.
It certainly is, especially with what we're going to talk about. But one of the things that I find fascinating that you have a lot of background in is time travel. And there's a question that was asked of you, and perhaps you could give your answer. It's, what did your presidential time travel program tell you who would be the new president in 2024?
Yeah, that was asked of me in this forum. One of the forums that I participate in is the forum of my graduating class of Yale Law School, and that was 1967. And one of the graduates there is Senator Joseph Lieberman, which everybody knows was the Democratic candidate for vice president. But he's also one of the principals behind a group called No Labels, which is trying to, in this tug between the GOP and the Democrats, there's a lot of polarization in the US. And so I keep a dialogue going there, kind of in the mainstream politics, and I keep a dialogue going elsewhere. And so one of the questions that came up over this holiday, as you said, they asked me whether the presidential time travel program that I've written a lot about, tell me who would be the new president in the year 2024, because we're all kind of glued glued to the action, right? It was in
Yeah.
the U.S. Um,
Yeah, things are crazy.
yeah, and so I'd like to share with you, and please feel free to, come in and ask questions as I kind of go through this kind of extensive response, because it gives kind of a flavor of how the time travel program operates, whenever you wish, Gail. And thank you for asking that key time travel question. I recently queried my DARPA CIA top secret time travel presidential pre-identification whistleblower source, the person who was part of that and who has been a whistleblower, and who, with other members of the secret time travel program, has given me a lot of information around which I've crafted many articles and books. Former U.S. chrononaut Andrew D. Bashago, otherwise known as Andy, as to whether he had any access to DARPA CIA time travel pre-identification of the 2024 U.S. president. And of course, he had previously divulged that U.S. President Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Donald J. Trump, and Joseph Robinette Biden had all been pre-identified in 1971 via secret time travel, and they had been brought in 1971, and they all had been briefed in 1971 that they would be future U.S. presidents. So in a way, when he went public with this, and when I went public with this over articles over the last 8 or 9 years in my book, The Chronogarchy, we showed that U.S. elections, in a way, because of this factor, have become sort of a charade, because the designated presidents, the pre-identified presidents, have all known since 1971 that they're going to be president.
Wow.
So it's only we, the people, that don't know that. Now, what Andy said was that he said that he did not have any time travel intelligence as to who is going to be president in 2024. So as far as our whistleblower source from DARPA CIA time travel, we don't have that. But hold on, because I have a big download that I'd like to give your listening audience now. If that's
that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Please do. Please do. This is fascinating.
And first of all, you can get a lot of the context, which I do recommend to you, from my book, The Chronogarchy, which is online. Just go to Amazon, enter my name, Alfred Lambremont Webre. It'll take you right to The Chronogarchy, and you can get it there. Chronogarchy is sort of what they call a neologism. Chronos means time. Archy means rule. Chronogarchy means those who rule through time. We have been taught by the establishment, outer space, the invasion is coming from outer space. Look how we're just a small planet in space. And no, we're in a space-time hologram, and the deep state has had the technology to rule through time secretly.
Wow.
And that's what they're ruling us through, is secretly through time. The chronogarchy, they rule through time, and they set up events through time, and they know what's going to happen in the future, and they set up future events, and they can travel forward and backwards in time. So just remember that.
Is that does that have anything to do with the Looking Glass too?
Yeah,
or that's totally different.
Looking Glass is one of the 8 specific time travel technologies that they have. They have Looking Glass, they have chronovisors. Chronovisors like a big television set because we live in a time-space hologram with multiple timelines, and you can just dial up a date and a time, and it'll take you there. And it's like a TV set, and it'll take you there to specifically what's happening. And that's the type of technology that they have. If you go to my book, The Chronography, you'll see that they had active information about the so-called 9/11 event on September 11, 2001. They had moving pictures, chronovisor information about 9/11 30 years in advance in 1971. That was a false flag that they planned 30 years in advance. And that was with National Security Advisor Henry Kissinger, who was working for the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. So they just leaked all that information to the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers 30 years in advance. So the deep state was able to pre-plan 9/11 30 years in advance. Imagine that. That's how it works. And so we've thrown that wide open. It's all there in these books, and I'm just sharing it for you. So,
wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
Actually,
Now let me set some context as part of my response to who's going to be the new president in 2024, because I want to start showing you the manipulation that is set up.
If you want to share your screen, you're able to do that too. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, we could do that. Let me see.
It's like right next to the
so
camera
it says
button.
Share screen.
Yeah.
And then it says select window or screen. It says entire screen.
It'll show you all the different windows you have open. You just have to pick which window you want to see.
Oh, I see. Entire screen.
Because I usually have too many windows.
Okay, Microsoft Word. Let's see if I have that one. Let me see what let me see if it comes up with that one. Can you see this Microsoft Word or not? No,
I'm not seeing it not yet.
Yeah. So I haven't quite mastered screen sharing on this. So I'll just read from this, okay?
Okay, that's okay.
So for the record, U.S. chrononaut Andrew D. Bashago, Andy, has been pre-identified by some DARPA CIA time travel identification as a possible future U.S. president in 2028 or 2032. Okay. This information, this pre-identification occurred specifically at a secret CIA secret training seminar at the College of the Siskiyous, Mount Shasta, California, in the early 1980s, in which both a young Barack Obama, who had been time travel pre-identified and briefed as a future president of the United States by CIA in 1971, and a young Andy Bashago, who was identified as a future president, which could be in 2028 or 2032. And
isn't he getting pretty old?
It said that he would be a president in his late 60s, okay? Because he was a childhood time traveler for the CIA, because they like using children to go in their time machines, because adults have too many hang-ups and they get injured in the time travel. And children don't have any hang-ups, and they just go forward in time.
That's fascinating. Okay.
Go on. And Andy and I have frequent conversations, phone conversations and others, around these potential 2028 and 2032 POTUS timelines, and he has already published a visionary presidential platform called the 100 Proposals. I'm going to put the link in your private chat to Andy's 100 Proposals, which would be for 2028 or 2032, which, if you wish, you could show to your listening audience. I just put that.
Okay. Yeah, I will. I just opened it up. I can share it.
Yeah. Now,
hang on, let me put this down.
While you're doing,
do you want me to share it now or wait?
Well, it's up to you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I can put it up there. We don't go away or anything. We'll still be there. Andrew. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, and so you could show that wherever you wish.
There it is.
Yeah, so that's a photo of Andy, and he was a Mars explorer for CIA. He went to Mars about 40 times, sometimes with Barack Obama and not. And you can see all of the subjects for the 100 Proposals, and it's in truth, reform, and these are just and innovation.
Do I
so
need
you can see that whole page is the subject matter of those. So that's for the future. Now, to get back to the 2024 presidential election, okay?
Okay.
Now, I personally have no data, and I didn't get any from Andy, from the top secret DARPA CIA presidential pre-identification program as to who will be, quote, the new president in 2024. But I do want to share various things that are germane to that, and I want to stress that this is information from me. Okay. So people you're welcome to differ with it. I'm just giving you my opinion. Okay. Number one, as a judge on the Kuala Lumpur War Crimes Tribunal in 2012, our tribunal found U.S. President George W. Bush, Vice President Richard B. Cheney, and their cabinet guilty of war crimes for the unlawful war in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Guantanamo, Cuba, based on live witness evidence from these three venues. We had live witnesses who had been tortured in Guantanamo, and from Afghanistan, and from Iraq, and from that. But
that's one thing that I never forgot is they asked Cheney later on. He actually made it sound as though he enjoyed torture. I never forgot that. I never forgot that. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
disgusting. Yeah.
What I'm going to say with regard to the 2024 election, people can disagree with this or not, but I'm going to say it. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is a GOP candidate, he's at about 22% now. He's behind former President Donald Trump, who's at about 56%. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was, at that time that I was a judge and we received testimony, was in the U.S. Navy Judge Advocate General Corps at Guantanamo Naval Base. And there are credible reports that DeSantis participated in the war crimes torture on the prisoners at that time. That was partially the basis of our tribunal verdict of torture. Okay? I just want to say this. Therefore, there's a legitimate legal question as to whether Governor Ron DeSantis violated international law by participating in torture? And is he, under law, disqualified to be president? Or do you want a president who participated in torture of prisoners? And in my judgment, this issue should be raised publicly in the campaign. So what I'm saying is, as I have participated in a tribunal that found UK Prime Minister Tony Blair, US President George W. Bush, Richard B. Cheney, and their cabinets guilty of war crimes and genocide in Afghanistan, Iraq, and Guantanamo, Cuba, that included Ron DeSantis, who was then in the U.S. Navy Judge Advocate General Corps in Guantanamo. He went above and beyond his duties as a government lawyer there and participated in torture of the prisoners. And in my judgment as a judge, that disqualifies him to be the president of the United States, an executive. So I'm just expressing that as an international judge on the Tribunal of Conscience. And I wanted to bring that here. And I included that in my answer to the graduates of the Yale Law School. And I just want to make that as a public record. Okay.
Yeah.
And,
What's disturbing
yeah,
is they haven't been, brought before any tribunal or anything that I'm aware of, for sure. Anyway,
well, they're now trying to do that. They have been trying to bring Bush, Blair, Cheney before international tribunals. You can go online and you'll find a lot of drives that are online. You can go on Facebook, you'll find it online. There are a lot of international drives to do it. See, George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney has died now, but George W. Bush, ever since our tribunal, he will not travel internationally because he's protected by the CIA inside the U.S. So he will not travel internationally. And so in my judgment, that's a violation of international law. It's a violation of the U.S. genocide statute. And it's a violation of our Constitution, because all men and women are created equal. It doesn't matter what nationality they are. So anyway, I just wanted to raise that here. And
yeah, those words in the Constitution are there, but I don't think they're abided by.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunately.
So, boom. Now, let me go. There are 3 books that I have on the issue of the public inquiry. And let me put this in your chat, okay? I'm putting it in your chat. And this is really what the subject matter of our of our program. In other words, to create a public inquiry. I'm not saying that the U.S. will break up. I'm saying it's a public inquiry, and that's, if you go to that link in Amazon, you'll see 3 books.
Yeah, I'll bring it up.
I've published on that subject, and it's very important because just this year, on March 6, 2023, there has been a bill, HB 3569, that has been introduced into this Texas state legislature, calling for the possibility of Texas independence and Texas seceding from the United States. And the Texas state GOP has already approved a plank calling for the secession of Texas from the United States. So they have already done that. And now there's a bill at the Texas legislature calling for the independence of Texas. Okay. So it's already there. It's not a dream. It's not an idea. It's a reality. And so, and the public opinion has gone from 33% to as high as 60%. And the majority of voters in Trump states, some Trump states feel like they would be better off if their states were independent countries, okay? So what we're talking about is not fanciful. What we're talking about is something that is now legislature, that are now laws in independent states. And the mainstream media is covering this up. They will
So
not.
what else is new? They cover up everything that we need to know. It's disgusting.
They will not talk about it. So
they're so guilty.
Now, so I'd like to go through various scenarios, okay?
Sure.
And these are just my projections as a futurist. Okay. Now, let me just share with you my experience around time travel. Okay.
Okay. Good.
What happened was in 1971, Andrew Bashago was a childhood participant in the DARPA CIA time travel program. He was in a meeting, and in that meeting with two other people, and in that meeting they brought in a satchel of materials brought from the future, and out came my book Exopolitics.
That must have blew your mind when you first found that out.
Yeah. Out came my book Exopolitics, which had been published in 2005, which I wouldn't write until 1999. And Andy saw it in 1971. Okay.
That's amazing. Yeah.
As a time traveler. And what's more, in 1971, I was general counsel of the New York City Environmental Protection Administration under Mayor John Lindsay. And one of my duties was to speak to groups about protection of the environment. And I was invited by a group. I used to speak to students and housewives, and the day they came to pick me up, it was a man in a suit and tie, kind of very serious. And they drove me for about 2 hours. And we came to a nondescript building. We went to the second floor, and I went in there, and it was about 50 men in suits and ties and shirts with ties.
Men in black.
And I knew that they were government agents. And then I found out through Andy that they were probably the secret DARPA CIA time travel unit, that they had seen my book in 1971, which had been brought back that I had written in 1999, 20 years later, and they wanted to see what I looked like in 1971. And when I went in to give the speech, they started making faces at me like, trying to break me off my game. See, I called that time travel surveillance. I became a person of interest of the time travel unit. Because what they do is that people who do things, who are visionaries, the time travel unit goes into the future and they identify them 30 years in the future, and they bring back their books, And so I was pre-identified 30 years in advance. You follow what I mean? And I've been under time travel surveillance since 1971. And here we are in 2023. That's 50 years. I've been 50 years under time travel surveillance by the CIA. So in 1977, I became a futurist at Stanford Research Institute, and I joined the Center for the Study of Social Policy. And in January of 1977, when I reported for duty, Willis Harman and that unit had a contract with the CIA to study for a 50-year future, alternative futures for the United States with the CIA.
Wow.
And the first, and when I joined them in January 1977, the director, Willis Harman, drew me aside and said, Alfred, in the future, the United States is going to break up into many regions. He told me that in 1977, and they had a contract with the CIA, which had already in 1971 time traveled my book back from 2005 back to 1971. So I was being given a leak from the CIA that in the future, the United States was going to break up to many regions. Do you see? I was told that in 1977. So that stayed with me. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. No, I was just going to say, is that one timeline possibility, or do they make those possibilities happen?
That is both, I think. That is one timeline, so that you have the chronography, right? So that within CIA, there are many factions, right? So you have the chronography faction, which would be like the deep state faction. And then you have different factions that are patriotic and factions that are deep state, right?
I was thinking that when you were talking about the grooming that was done on the presidents because of the difference in the way that they have operated.
Exactly. That's exactly it. So then what I have is what I've done is I've written 3 books so far. I've written 2 books, Time Screen, and then 2022 Diary, that has been monitoring this.
Let me put that
all along. And then now it looks like it's coming to a culmination, right? Because we're now coming to a culmination around the 2024 election, right?
Right.
And so so what happened now just follow me. And I'm trying I'm not judging, I'm not judging Donald Trump. I'm not judging Vice President Pence. I'm not judging anybody. I'm just trying to state the facts. Number 1, the United States did not break up on January 6, 2021, because Mike Pence honored the election results on January 6th and did not contest them. So you didn't get into the insurrection of the, all the plans in the different states that it would have thrown out the election and possibly gotten into a fragmentation of the different states. Do you see what I was saying? There could have been a possibility of the United States breaking up around the 2020 election and breaking up around January 2020. What?
You mean because of the election fraud?
Yeah, but that didn't happen because Mike Pence said on January 6th, we're going to honor the ballot results on January 6, 2021. There are 2 views. There's a view that there was election fraud, and there's a view that there was not election fraud, okay?
Well, there's evidence there's evidence that there was, so I don't see how they can overlook that. But I guess
Well, there are
I don't mean to be.
there are differing views.
Timelines are different.
The different views,
Are different.
i.e., there are 60 legal cases, and the 60 legal cases found that there were no fraud. So either you have,
I don't believe it.
I know,
Yeah.
yeah, but if we continue with that view, the U.S. is going to break apart, okay?
Why?
Because you have two sections of the population that have different views of what's happening under the Constitution. And eventually,
Well, once it,
but eventually the U.S. is going to break apart, okay? If you have two sections, one section is saying it's fraud, and the other section is saying it's not fraud, and I've got 60 cases with honest judges, those two sections are two realities, and eventually the U.S. is going to break apart. So you've got to make up your mind, do you want the U.S. to stay together, or do you want it to break apart? I'm not through my presentation, so if you would just want to sit back and listen to my presentation, okay?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah. It's all emotionally charged to some extent because of what's happening to the country now and so on. But anyway,
yeah, I know. But the issue is, do people want the country to break apart, as was told to me, or do they want the country to stay together? Okay. So I'm just presenting alternatives.
Okay.
And it's like, do people want divorce, or do they want the marriage to stay together? You know, we're in marriage counseling. Okay.
That's an interesting way of looking at it.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay. So now, the working conclusions of my two prior books, Time Screen and 2022 Diary, which you can get at that link, okay, are that Donald Trump are that the country did not break up in 2021 and 2022 for the following reasons, okay? Number one, Vice President Pence honored the Constitution literally by stating the Vice President does not have the authority to do anything than certify the results on January 6, 2021, which he did, okay? So the country stayed together then. And number two, at the midterm election on Tuesday, November 8, 2022, there was a blood moon lunar eclipse at 6:02 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That was on the day of the midterm election. And this is very important. And the Buddha achieved enlightenment under a blood moon lunar eclipse. And that blood moon lunar eclipse facilitated the US election, voting in an enlightened result. And what happened then, there was a tremendous amount. Before that, there was a tremendous amount of confusion in the electorate of competing demands. You know, are they going to vote in candidates who were still saying that the 2020 results were not valid? Or are they going to vote in candidates who said, that's over? The 20, it's over. And Mike Pence said, no, the Constitution's got to be respected, and it voted in. We had
What constitution?
No, wait. There is a constitution, okay? Just let go and listen. I'm bringing you.
Okay, sorry.
I'm bringing you new information. If it was good enough for the Buddha to achieve enlightenment, it's good enough for the American people to achieve enlightenment on the day of the 2022 midterm election. And they voted in an enlightened way. And contrary to all results, they voted in a blue wave. Everybody was expecting a red wave, and they voted in a blue wave, and they confirmed the January 6, 2021 Mike Pence action. It was an act of God. Don't you get it? It was the universe. Okay? I'm offering you a new perspective. I'm not through my presentation. I'm just offering people something new. God intervened. God wants the United States to stay together and not blow apart. It's on the verge of blowing apart because Texas has already introduced a statute, a bill to secede. Okay? Okay, now let me continue. Okay?
Okay.
Now, so I urge your audience to download, go to Amazon to the link for this 3-book series and read Time Screen, okay? Because Time Screen goes back to the 1890s to the novels called 1900 and The Last President. Those novels have characters called Baron Trump, called Don, called Pence. They're at the hotel on the Fifth Avenue Hotel, which is on the exact site of Trump Tower. Okay, and it's a novel in which the last president, Don Trump, goes and becomes the last president because he blows up the U.S. And so that's a chronography plot which was implanted back in the 1890s by Underwood Lockwood, who was a chronography agent. Do you see how they implant these things? Oh, yeah, this is complex. I'm trying to bring people to it. If you really want to get into it, these things go back to the 1890s, okay? So go in, get your copy of Time Screen, find out what the secret program that was implanted in the 1890s was. Get your copy of 2022 Diaries, find out how God in which there was a guy named Pence. Get your copy of 22 Diaries, find out how a real guy named Pence overrode it on January 6th by sticking to the Constitution. And then on the midterm election, there was a blood moon on the day of the midterm election, the same condition of the blood lunar eclipse on which the Buddha achieved enlightenment, which gave enlightenment to the American electorate so that they rose to the occasion and overcame the chronography plot that had been set back in the 1890s. So the people are overriding the chronography, and we're still together. And we're already in 2023 and we're still together. You get it? We're already overriding it. This is an amazing story. Okay, let me continue, right? So now let's see what's going to happen in 2024, right? So in 2024, remember now that the context is that we have Texas, which already has in the legislature a bill to have Texas secede as an independent country, okay? And it's on a quick fuse, right? It'll go for anything. So in 2024, will it be a President Biden or a President Harris, President Kamala Harris, through vice presidential succession, right? Maybe Biden, has one of those Babel attacks and becomes incoherent. And through the 25th Amendment, he has to go and, waterworks. Kamala Harris becomes president, who Kamala Harris was behind the whole $1 billion college loan forgiveness scam that even Nancy Pelosi said was unconstitutional because only Congress can forgive college loans. Even Nancy Pelosi knew that. But it was Vice President Harris that forced President Biden to sign the loan forgiveness as a gimmick that the U.S. Supreme Court just overturned. So you have Kamala Harris, who is brainless and witless and has no common sense at all. But she became vice president because of this chronicarchy. She was pre-identified, so they made her vice president. So she becomes president because Biden goes into some, witless 25th Amendment meltdown, right? So option A, will it be 2024 President Biden or 2024 President Harris or vice president secession that drives Texas into secession as an independent country, as an independent country, and thereby fulfills what I was told. So that's option A, right? So we don't want that, but that's a possibility, right? So that's option A. Let's go to a different option. Or will it be the election of a 2024 President Trump? I mean, we all saw President Trump's speech in South Carolina yesterday. That was the most forceful thing in the world. He called out Biden as a member of a crime family, totally, and how he's going to prosecute that crime family, right? But if he does that, what's going to happen then? You're going to have armed conflict between the blue states and the red states. The blue states you're going to have armed militias in the blue states are going to break out, and the blue states, you're going to have armed civil war in the blue states. That's what's going to happen if Trump is as if he adopts that persona, as if he wins the election in the same persona that he undertook yesterday in South Carolina. That's what's going to happen as an ultra red. That's what's going to happen. So, or here's a third alternative, which I have proposed to Senator Joseph Lieberman, my classmate at Yale Law School, and to the No Labels group, okay, which is a funded group that they're going to propose a third way. Will Trump and RFK Jr. see? Steve Bannon has already gone. Both Steve Bannon and another senior Trump advisor have gone to Donald Trump and say, choose RFK Jr. as your VP. In other words, form what's called a fusion red-blue ticket. So you've got a fusion ticket. This is what they do in politics. They've done it forever, especially in politics. You have a fusion ticket of a strong red candidate and a strong blue ticket, and it comes together. And that way, the blue forces don't feel left out. The red forces feel vindicated, and you do that. So here you have, you have Trump and RFK Jr. create a 2024 presidential red-blue patriotic fusion ticket to restore America and pardon Trump. What did Trump say yesterday in South Carolina? He said, the only way why I'm taking this scorched earth policy and I'm going to destroy and prosecute and imprison Biden is because they're coming after me. So we have...
they want to put him in jail for like 400 years or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. They're crazy. They're crazy. The blue forces have gone off the rails. So here we have a Trump and RFK 2024 presidential red-blue patriotic fusion ticket. It will A, restore America, and B, it will pardon Trump. RFK Jr. will be a mitigating.
I like that.
A mitigating factor in the 1980 campaign of Ted Kennedy presidential campaign. RFK Jr. My mother was president of the South Texas Democrats, and my family home in Texas was designated the headquarters of the Ted Kennedy presidential campaign in South Texas, and they stationed RFK Jr. in my family home. And my mom told me, oh, I used to go in the kitchen and there RFK Jr. was raiding our refrigerator. And RFK Jr. is a great guy. He has been a family friend, intimate family friend of my family for a long time. And I'm telling you, the guy's great. You know, right now, the establishment press is demonizing him. It's a lot of bullshit. So
I thought that was an ingenious combination, actually.
Yeah. So already Steve Bannon has said, choose RFK Jr. So you have that RFK Jr. and Trump. RFK Jr. will be a moderating influence on Trump. You get the blues back in line. Right now, Biden, who's a member of the Biden-Cram family, doesn't want to debate RFK because he knows RFK Jr. will decimate him. So I think that this is a way to restore America. Trump will be president again. When Trump was president, we didn't have any wars. Right?
Yes, big.
Right, exactly. Trump will serve one term because then you have 2 terms, and then RFK can become a 2-term president. So that's what I think should happen, and maybe that's how you do it. So anyway,
that sounds like a balancing act, actually.
Yeah.
And I like them both, actually.
Yeah. So, like many of us in America, I'm tracking the 2024 U.S. presidential season with a sense of hopeful awe, enlightened life. So, from my lips to your ears to God's ears. So that's my ticket. And I see that we've gone 60 minutes. Maybe that's what people can take. So maybe that's, so that's kind of where I'm at.
Wow, that's fascinating. And I when I first heard about the combination of Trump and RFK Jr., I went, yeah. Because I like what he knows about, and
RFK Jr. just said 2 days ago, I'm very happy that Trump is happy with me. So they both like each other.
Yeah, that's I like that idea. I like it a lot.
Yeah. So over to you.
Okay, so that I was going to ask you about the Brunson case, but what you just said is something to think about. One of the things that I appreciate that has happened that Trump has brought up, and that is saving children that are being terribly abused.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
And
mean,
killed, and you name it, tortured.
This is
I mean,
like
it's
the
disgusting.
pedocriminal planet. This is the pedocriminal planet, and Biden is the pedocriminal executive in charge of covering up the pedocriminal machine. So he has got to go.
Yes.
And so I think a Trump RFK Jr. ticket is the way that we have to go, and that we should be pushing that.
I like that combination. I do. I did when I first heard it, and I still do. I like how he has, our Robert has come out about the vax and some with good information and stuff that has happened, because you can't just brush everything under the carpet, because there was a lot of they got genocide going on, and that's a whole nother
exactly
thing. And then the satanic ritual abuse of children is unforgivable and needs to be stopped completely.
Exactly.
And if it takes that combination, I'm all for it.
Exactly.
So, and peace. We need peace for a change. You know.
Exactly.
So, was there anything else that you wanted to add? I guess that's a lot to absorb.
That is my essential message, and I commend that to the American people, and I think that's the road to go.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we really this here. Let me show it one more time. Make sure I get the right one here. Yeah, here it is. We don't want to see the country broken up like that.
We do not want the balkanization of the U.S. We want Texas to stay in the Union. Texas was an independent republic, the Republic of Texas, then it joined the Union. And we want Texas to stay in the Union. And this is a way to do it. We want peace between red and blue states. And so this is the red-blue fusion ticket of Trump and RFK Jr. for 2024.
Well, I just think that's a jolly good idea that I think most people will be should be impressed with. See, I used to be a Democrat until I've seen what's been going on. Many years ago, I just quit voting altogether because I knew that we didn't really seem to have much to say about anything in reality. And I wasn't even looking forward to the possibility of voting as a result of nothing ever being done about 2020. So it was just we'll see what happens.
This is the ultimate remedy for 2020.
I think so too. Yeah. I think so too. Cool. Alrighty then. If you haven't got to say, I guess we could call it a wrap, because that's a lot to absorb, and I might even listen to it again myself.
Great.
So, thank you so much. If you have any parting words.
Thank you. Yeah. You know, thank you very much, and God bless.
All right, and thank you for being a guest. Thank you so much.
Oh, totally.
Very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, let me see here. I gotta get the right in it. So we'll see you all. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
We have found our way It's a brand new day, and we'll be making history. Are you with me? Won't you stay? We have come so far. This is who we are. And like the rising sun, we have just begun to play our part. This is the time we form the chorus. Lift your voice for those before us. We can rely on one another. Feel the pride, let's show our